All right, guys, here we go. Welcome back. Thank you for watching the video. This could be the beginning of a series on this channel. We'll just see how it goes. But I was going through the vault the other day and I came across some old 5.56 ammo that I kind of forgot about. Some of these were given to me by a friend to make videos with. Others I've just had for quite a while, but they're all very unique. There's even a couple SUBSONIC rounds in here. And my initial video idea for today was to just come out here and like test the weirdest 5.56 ammo we could find. Because again, most of these are rounds that I've never really seen before. But then I got to thinking, those SUBSONIC rounds are very intriguing to me because SUBSONIC 5.56 isn't really a thing. There's not a ton of videos out there on it. And I don't think I've ever shot one before. So I definitely want to test the SUBSONICs. That might kind of take over the video today, and we'll compare them to a couple regular 5.56s and see how they perform. And then you guys can let me know in the comments if there's any rounds you would like to see tested in future videos, either SUBSONIC or just anything weird or super interesting. I love testing weird stuff. So this is all just kind of on a whim. I don't really have a plan, but let's see where this video goes. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at these two SUBSONIC rounds that we have. Now, both of these were sent by a friend and he labeled the bag with the information that he had. The first one is a 223 SUBSONIC, unknown weight, unknown manufacturer, boat tail hollow point, which kind of sucks that we don't know who made it, how heavy the bullet is, how fast it's going. But we do know that it's a SUBSONIC hollow point 223. You can see that big hollow point cavity on the end of that bullet. For a rifle round, that's a big hollow point. So we will test these and see how they perform. I've only got 3 of them, so we're not gonna get to shoot a ton, but that should be enough to get the job done. And then the other SUBSONIC round that we have is the Silent Strike 100 grain SUBSONIC frangible 223. And these are very interesting looking. You can see it's a big green bullet. Typically, I would not recommend frangible ammo for like self-defense because they just don't penetrate very well. But with a SUBSONIC, it might actually help, to give us a little bit more of a destructive result because these things are gonna be going pretty dang slow. So we'll see how it does. And then I've got several very interesting supersonic 5.56s we can compare them to. One of them is definitely this one, also sent by a friend. It is the Rex Bullet by Maker, loaded by P&R Ammo, Buford, Georgia, 62 grain, full copper hollow point. And this is like a tri-tip bullet. I don't know if you'll be able to see those slits going down the side of the bullet. And again, it is a hollow point. So I assume those are gonna either, expand or break off as it hits the target. And it should be a pretty effective round to compare to the SUBSONICs. So if you don't know, SUBSONIC ammo, especially with the AR-15, is kind of not really a thing because the caliber is so dependent on velocity. Bringing that velocity down to 1,000 feet per second just diminishes the effectiveness too much to make it a viable option. This is why calibers like the 300 Blackout were invented. You can suppress it, use SUBSONIC ammo, and it's a much bigger, heavier bullet. And the same platform, and even uses the same magazines as the AR-15. So trying to bring a 5.56 down to SUBSONIC velocities historically hasn't really worked, but I've never tested SUBSONIC 5.56 or 223 ammo. So we're gonna see how effective they really are. All right, guys, we're out at probably 70 or 80 yards. I wanna try these SUBSONIC rounds and see if they sound any different flying through the air. Again, SUBSONIC just means that the bullet is going slower than the speed of sound. So we shouldn't get that crack of the bullet breaking the sound barrier. And with rifles, that's a very big part of the gunshot report. It's almost as loud as the gunshot itself. So we've got 3 rounds in the magazine. We're gonna start with a regular 223 just to see what that sounds like. Then we have our SUBSONIC hollow point, unknown manufacturer, and then behind that we have another regular 223. So we can hear what they sound like and see if it actually cycles the rifle. I don't know if I've ever shot a SUBSONIC 223 before, but I'm not gonna go for steel. I'm just gonna try to hit the backstop and we'll see how these things sound. Better turn my optic on. Okay, that was a regular 223. You could definitely hear how loud that was. Holy crap, dude. Okay, that sounded suppressed. Like that was way quieter than I thought it would be. I'll be shocked if that cycled the rifle. Yeah, it did not. So that's our third 223. Actually, I'm gonna eject this manually. All right. So that's the shell casing from the SUBSONIC 223 that we just shot. That was way quieter and way less powerful than I expected it to be. Okay, we'll go ahead and try the same thing with our Silent Strike 100 grain frangible SUBSONIC 223s. I've got a regular round in the magazine. We'll put the SUBSONIC on top of that, and then a regular 223 before that. So same order as the last one. I hope these are a little more powerful. Okay, regular 223 first. Smoke the steel target with that one. And next up we have our SUBSONIC frangible 223. That one sounded quite a bit better than the other one. I did hear the bolt move. I don't know if it went back far enough to pick up. It did not. So we still have our other 223 in the magazine. But that one was a lot more powerful than the first one. Okay, there's the shell casing. Yeah, it did not cycle the action. And our other regular 223. So that kind of demonstrates exactly what I was talking about. Most SUBSONIC 223 or 5.56 will not even cycle an AR-15. So that's why they're not really used in, like, you know, warfare or special operations and stuff like that. Plus, with a caliber like this, you really need the velocity. When you drop it down to 1,000 feet per second, you're basically just shooting a heavy 22 long rifle. But I am really intrigued to see how they perform, so let's find out. Hey guys, before we go any further, I want to talk to you all about identity theft protection, because this is something that I've actually dealt with in my personal life, as I'm sure a lot of you have as well. And many of the websites that we all use every day do not have the best data practices, which is why I'm excited to partner with Aura, our sponsor for today's video. If you or anyone you know has had their personal information leaked, had their identity stolen, been a victim of fraud, been hacked, scammed, doxxed, etc., then you probably know what a helpless feeling that can be. I'm going to put up a redacted data leak on screen here just so you can see the staggering amount of information these data brokers are collecting on you every single time you use the internet. All of this information on you is for sale if you're not properly protected. So Aura is an all-in-one identity theft protection, secure VPN, antivirus software, password management, and more, all combined into one easy-to-use app. And they do the hard work for you, removing all of your information off of these websites and keeping it off. There's a lot of these companies out there, I'm sure you've heard about them, but none of them offer as many services as Aura for the same price. Some other features you can expect to get with Aura are 24/7 monitoring to keep your identity secure, real-time fraud alerts for credit and banking, and they will also notify you if any of your information shows up on the dark web. And right now you can try Aura for free for 14 days if you visit aura.com/oneshot, and in those 2 weeks, Aura will get to work scrubbing all of your personal information off of these data broker sites. That's aura.com/oneshot, link in the description box below. I'm not leaving myself vulnerable, and you shouldn't either. Okay, like I said, unfortunately, I've only got a couple of each of these SUBSONIC rounds, so I don't want to waste any, but after those first shots, I have to chronograph these things to see how slow they're actually going. First up, we are going to shoot the unknown SUBSONIC hollow point. Don't know the weight, don't know the manufacturer. I do believe this is the slower of the two, just based off how it sounded. So, and after those first shots, I have to imagine the point of impact is drastically different on these. So hopefully I don't shoot the chronograph. Here we go, unknown SUBSONIC hollow point. 993, that is actually just beneath that supersonic line. So that's like a perfect SUBSONIC round. Kind of forgot I have to manually eject the shell casing. That one does not even like move the bolt. It's nowhere near powerful enough to cycle the action. And next up, we have the 100 grain Silent Strike frangible SUBSONIC hollow point. And for this one, I have also put a steel plate right behind the chronograph. For any other 5.56, I would not do this, but since it's frangible, it should basically disintegrate on impact. I've also got a slow-mo camera on the steel target so we can see what the bullet actually does. When I took the first shots, this one felt a lot more powerful than the other one, but it could just be because it's a heavier bullet. So let's see if it's actually SUBSONIC. I'm gonna try to get a little bit lower so I can hit the steel. Okay, that one is 1,086 feet per second. I don't know if that's quite SUBSONIC. I don't think it is. I could be wrong. I might look it up here in a minute, but it is quite a bit louder for sure. Okay, so I looked up what the fastest subsonic bullet could be, and the answers were like 1065, 1050, stuff like that. It did say the speed of sound is 1125 at sea level, so anything under that technically should not break the sound barrier. Of course, weather can affect it, air density and all that kind of stuff, but 1,086 feet per second could be just under that subsonic threshold. So if we look at our steel target, the slow-mo footage looked awesome, and you can see where that bullet hit the steel. It basically just turned into dust from what I could see. So that's what frangible rounds are designed to do, disintegrate on impact and leave no dangerous bullet fragments, and it looks like that one performed perfectly. All right, before we test these rounds, I've got a few targets on the table. Let's go ahead and take them out. These are not subsonic, by the way. Got a little pumpkin there. That's always so crazy to me, how pumpkins just don't react. Let's go ahead and flip that safety all the way around. My trigger finger's getting fast. No, if you're wondering what that was, it is Rare Breed's new ambidextrous 3-position FRT. I'm sure you probably know what they are. They've been around forever. It is semi-automatic, and I really want to emphasize that. Semi-auto, 1 round per trigger press, fully legal. It is not a machine gun, but they're extremely fun. And they actually fixed the only issue I had with the previous generation, which was the 2 positions. It had safe and FRT. This one now has safe, semi, and full SHTF mode. So shout out to them for actually listening to their customers, genuinely. That's what everybody was asking for, and they finally gave it to us. All right, guys, it is actually a couple days later. I had to pack up and leave after that last segment because we had a rainstorm of epic proportions roll through here, the likes of which no camera gear is possibly gonna survive. But today we're back, and we're gonna finish this subsonic ammo test. On the table, we have 2 10% clear ballistics gel blocks. This is how we're gonna be testing these rounds. I actually ordered some new ballistics gel. It's just taking a long time to get here. So these are gonna have to work. You can probably see that one does have a crack going right down the middle of it. It broke in half when I tried to pull it out of the mold. But if we just pretend it's not there, it should work just as well. And then behind it, I have a second one to catch anything that might overpenetrate. But this first one is where we're gonna be looking for the results. And obviously subsonic rifle rounds are great for suppressors and stealth, not making any noise and stuff like that. But when you decrease velocity by that much, it definitely drops effectiveness as well. And personally, I have never tested SUBSONIC 5.56, so let's see how effective they actually are. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start with the SUBSONIC hollow point, unknown weight, unknown manufacturer. I assume it's a heavy bullet, most subsonics are, and we've established that these will not cycle AR-15s. But keep in mind, there are bolt action and single shot 5.56 rifles as well. So if it's effective, it could be perfect for a suppressed bolt gun or something like that. Let's see how it does. 3, 2, 1. That sounded so puny. I didn't even see the ballistics gel block move at all. I'm assuming we hit it because I'm 5 yards away, but didn't look like it carried a bunch of energy. Let's go check it out. Okay, so the bullet went in down here. You can see the entrance hole, hopefully, right there. Very small, little 22 caliber entrance hole. And the wound cavity is so small, it's almost hard to even see on camera. I do have high-speed footage, so I'll run that for you as well. But just no energy transfer in the ballistics gel block. How are there bees out here? It's like 45 degrees. Either way, the bullet did enter the ballistics gel block, penetrated almost all the way down to the very end. And then, I don't know if you'll be able to see it from the top. I can, but it looks like it curved and exited the gel on the right side, almost at the very end of the ballistics gel block. And that looks like where it exited right there. Again, I don't think I've ever seen a wound cavity so small that it's almost invisible on camera. But I hope you guys can see it. I think you probably can. It's just very underwhelming. So we can clearly see that the energy on target was not anywhere near what a regular 5.56 would do. And what I think happened is because the bullet is going so slow, the hollow point did not expand, which is why it did penetrate so far. But what I will say is that bullet got nearly 16 inches of penetration, and had it went straight through the gel and didn't curve, it might have gotten even more. And 12 to 18 inches is what the FBI recommends for a lethal self-defense round. So, despite how underwhelming it looked, I think that would definitely be a lethal round. And if you placed the shot correctly, it would probably get the job done. It just didn't look very impressive on video, but the penetration doesn't lie. Okay, so that one would not be my first choice, but I would not want to get shot with it either. I think that would definitely be a lethal round. Now we're gonna go ahead and try the Silent Strike 100 grain frangible subsonic hollow point. This might be the first frangible round I've ever shot into a ballistic shell block, so it could just explode on the front. I really don't know what to expect here. Let's find out. I'm gonna try to put this one a little bit higher. 3, 2, 1. Well, I forgot to put my ear pro on. Luckily, it was a subsonic round. Still didn't feel good though, I'm gonna be honest. Well, I gotta say, the number one thing that sticks out to me with both of these subsonic rounds is the lack of energy on target. I literally don't even know if I'm hitting the ballistic shell because it doesn't move or react at all. And that's unusual for rifle rounds. They typically give you pretty good feedback when you hit the target. But I've gotta say, this one did a little bit better than the last one. So I put the subsonic frangible round just above the first one. You can see the entrance hole right there. And surprisingly, I do not think it broke apart at all. So it went in probably halfway down the ballistic shell, it started curving up. We actually do have a little bit of a wound cavity in there, and I'm sure you'll be able to see it better on the high-speed footage. Again, I don't see any fragments. I don't think the bullet broke apart at all. Looks like it stayed intact. About 3/4 of the way down, it started curving up. Entered our second ballistic shell block. Try to give you guys a good angle. And then came out the top right there. So that one got 18 to 19 inches of penetration and 10% ballistic shell. It's unfortunate that we weren't able to trap either of these rounds. I really wanted to see what they looked like after passing through all the ballistic shell, but I think it's safe to say neither one of them expanded or really did much of anything. The velocity is just too low, and they're not expanding like a 3,000 feet per second hollow point would. And just to kind of give us a baseline, we're gonna go ahead and try a full power SUBSONIC 5.56. This is the Rex bullet by Maker. It's a 62 grain tri-tip hollow point full copper bullet. Should be pretty effective. You guys know what 5.56 does. We've tested a million of them over the years, but I've never tried this one, so let's see what it does. If it's like any other 5.56, we should see the ballistic shell move on this one at least. Let's go for it. Oh yeah. Let's go for it. Oh yeah. Well, I'm glad I put my ear pro on for that one. Big noise difference. This is a beautifully performing 5.56 round. I absolutely love this one. So the entrance hole is right there. I think it's in between the first two that we shot. And then if we go over here, there's definitely no mistaking the wound cavity on this one. You can see it pretty much clear as day, like 3 or 4 inches in, dude. So probably 3 inches into the ballistic shell, we have a pretty big wound cavity where that bullet started expanding and breaking apart. I would say it's 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches in diameter. Definitely the biggest wound cavity we've gotten so far, and those 3 petals broke off and all went in different directions, just as they're designed to do. So all 3 of them are in the ballistic shell, and you can see they created their own separate wound channels, and then the main projectile continued down the ballistic shell block, passed all the way through the first one, and came to a stop right there, probably 3 inches into our second ballistic shell block. So that bullet got 19 to 20 inches of penetration, and that's actually on the higher end of what most 5.56s do, especially hollow points. And I absolutely love everything about this round. Again, it's not really what the video's about, but that's one of the more impressive 5.56s that I've tested in a while, and it performed exactly as it was supposed to. So you can clearly see the difference between a full power 5.56 hollow point and the subsonics that we shot before, which is obviously to be expected. But that being said, I'm not disappointed in the subsonics, at least not as much as I thought I would be. And you got to keep in mind, everything is a compromise. If you want a super quiet rifle with, suppressed and subsonic rounds, you're gonna get a slower, less effective bullet. But you have to decide if that trade-off is worth it. And if it is, I think these could actually be effective. Well, I just recovered the main projectile, the one that penetrated 19 or 20 inches, and look at that thing. It's like a perfect little hollow point that completely stayed intact. And if you watch our other videos, you know that is unusual for high velocity rifle rounds, especially 5.56s. They tend to break apart a lot more than that. And when you consider it also had 3 petals that broke off and went in different directions, that's very impressive for the main projectile to perform that well. That's a well-constructed bullet, I've got to say. All right, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed our video on the weird SUBSONIC 5.56 ammo test. If you have any other rounds or items you would like to see tested in future videos, definitely let me know in the comments below. I love testing weird stuff, and I would definitely put these in that category. It's not something you see every day. Unfortunately, SUBSONIC and 5.56 are just 2 words that don't really belong together, so obviously the results weren't incredible. They did do a little bit better than I thought they would, I'll be honest, but there are much better calibers out there for subsonic suppressed rifles. That's basically why the 300 Blackout was invented. Same platform, even uses the same magazines, but it's much more effective with subsonic ammo. Plus, it will actually cycle the rifle reliably. But I haven't seen too many videos with SUBSONIC 5.56 ammo, and it is something that I hear people talk about online. So thought we would give it a shot. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know down in the comments below. As always, hit that like button for me, guys. I would really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.